Demon Slayer Hinokami Chronicles 2 was announced recently, and it got me thinking about not only Demon Slayer and what that game could have in store for us, but also anime games as a whole. We've recently had Dragon Ball Sparking Zero released, which was a huge thing for the gaming community as a whole, but really the anime gaming community, because it just really brought back the hype and a nostalgic feeling of the previous iterations before it. That was until the sweats got a hold of the game, and the community as a whole have made it a chore to play now. If you don't take my word for it, then you can just do your own research and you'll see 90% of the player base was gone after month 1. And that's purely because the toxic community it developed over time. As I said before, games are meant to be fun and enjoyable not only for yourself and friends, but for the entire community. And after the events of Sparking Zero and my experience from this first Demon Slayer video game, my hopes just aren't high for this one, and I'll tell you why in a few moments. A couple things I am excited for is to see the new Hashira because of how small and limited the roster was in the first release. Added variety and maybe an addition of Team Ultimates would be something I can see happening as well, not only because of the hints that the trailer provides, but also it just makes sense as the game evolves to add some new battle mechanics. I do hope that the characters are a little bit more balanced than before. I don't expect really any arena fighter to be balanced, but in the first release some demons just made most other Demon Slayers obsolete. You really just couldn't use them. I know that no anime arena fighter will ever truly be balanced to a T. I'm just asking for it to be kept somewhat closer than it was in the last release, just to keep variety online and make some other characters worth using. Presentation looks pretty similar to the last game, and to be honest, I don't have much of an issue with that. One of the strong points of the original Hinokami Chronicles was the character models, their techniques, and really just the visuals as a whole. Now the bigger problem among others that needs to be changed is the game modes and other activities available to players from launch. The game is going to die very quickly, just like the first Hinokami Chronicles, and how Sparking Zero is on its way to do that right now if it doesn't give players anything else to do but a short story mode and online. At least with Sparking Zero you have what if battles that other players around the world can create, and I see how that has lengthened the life of the game just with that alone. I don't think you can do the same thing with Hinokami Chronicles 2, but Bandai and CC2 need to come up with something, because just having a game that costs $60, $70 and the only changes being is the story, which we've all seen in the anime, and a few new characters isn't going to cut it for me at least. I just am at a point where I expect more from these games than what we've been receiving as of late. Ultimately, I just don't want a repeat of Storm Connections or Jujutsu Kaisen Curse Clash. Two mid games that the community built hype on, and they turned out to be disappointing messes. Now, I don't expect this to be a mess because the anime gaming community pretty much accepts anything you throw at them. So if they make the same game from 3 years ago and just add a few new characters and a short story, people are still going to buy it and eat it up just because it's Demon Slayer. They aren't going to be thinking about the input delay that was in the first version of the game. That's more than likely going to return in this one because it's still going to be on past gen consoles. And I can tell you now, if you're like, oh, well, they can upgrade the servers, they can update the servers and then it'll fix the problem. I'm going to tell you now, they're probably not going to do that. They're not going to put more money into this game than they need to, because it's not going to last. And I don't really think they plan on it lasting. If I'm looking at how they're putting these games out, they want to get as much money off of Demon Slayer as they can before the series is over with. This is why they're splitting it into 3 movies. This is why they're probably going to add DLC for those movies once this game is released and done, because this game is going to have to release before those movies come out, because they don't want to release a game after more story has been released. That just won't make sense. So I don't expect them to upgrade the servers or anything like that. So if there is input delay, you're going to have to deal with it, because it's probably not going to be resolved. If I'm guessing, hope that's not the case, probably will be. Then we could talk about that mid-story mode that they had in the first game, which I expect to be the same in the second one, I'm not going to lie. Now, the story mode, I don't want to say it was trash, because it had its moments. It was cool in some aspects, but ultimately, to me, and I would say to many others, because I mean, how many people did y'all really hear talking about the story mode for Demon Slayer? I thought it was a little disappointing. I thought it was a little underwhelming. It was okay at best, but I expect a little bit more. Even though we've seen the anime, we know what's gonna happen. You can still make it enjoyable. They did that in Storm. In all the Storm games, for the most part, really all of them that I can remember, we all knew what was gonna happen. We've all seen Naruto. And if you didn't see Naruto, that was the cool thing about the games, is you could play the Storm games and you could still get an idea of what's happening. It would still be an enjoyable and cool way to find out the story of Naruto if you didn't want to sit there and watch the series. It was a fun way to interact with the story, and you really would enjoy it. I think you would. If you had never seen anime, you could go through the games and still enjoy it and get an idea of what's happening. The Demon Slayer game, I wouldn't say that's the same thing. If you want to find out about Demon Slayer, you're gonna be better off watching the show, because the story in the video game just does not do anything justice, in my opinion. So there's that. And the main thing I will complain about in that story mode is when you're running around the overworld, your character, which is Tanjiro most of the time, if not the whole time, you feel like you got like 10 pounds of bricks in your feet. You're moving so slow. And I feel like that was purposely done to extend the story mode, because it wasn't much to do. And it didn't make it really any more entertaining with anything, to be honest. So ultimately, yes, I know they're going to do the same story from the anime, and that's okay. But the least they could do when it's been 3 years since this game's released and they're using a lot of the same assets, I doubt they've done many things different in this game. I would just say, hey, let's do an original short story or something. Let's just make something original with these. You could do that. They did it with Storm Connections, and I'll at least applaud them for that, for at least trying something and being original in some way. You could do that for this Demon Slayer game. It's just about if they want to. Now, I don't think they do, so I wouldn't expect it. It would be cool, but that requires effort that I don't think they're going to put in. Now, these are my thoughts. These are just my opinions. I hope I'm wrong, because I want y'all to enjoy this Demon Slayer games. I want y'all to enjoy anime games as a whole. But again, like I said in Storm Connections video, think with your wallet, be a good consumer, and don't just throw your money at something because it includes your favorite anime characters. You can get many games for $60, $70 that are much higher quality and that will last you longer than a few months to a year. I'm telling you, I play them. I play games. It's more out there to play. But let's just wait and see what they have in store for us. It's been your boy Kasuke, and I'm out. Peace.